All right, guys, here we go. Welcome back to my channel. As you know, I keep starting to cook and then forgetting that I should be recording this meal or thinking that, I'm just going to cook this real quick. I'm not going to record. So I already started. So all that is chicken thighs, and that's black pepper that I'm sprinkling on it. So I put black pepper, a little garlic powder, and a little Cajun seasoning. That's the black pepper ground right there. So I did put garlic powder, black pepper, and a little Cajun seasoning. So I'm going to try to speed this video up as much as possible for it to not be so long as the other one. I had to redo it because I had Jill Scott playing in the background. That's just some olive oil because I am making lasagna. I'm making my 4-meat lasagna. So I had to redo the video. I was catching a vibe playing Jill Scott and all. In some parts of the video, I forgot to mute the background. So I had some copyright issues. So I thought I'd just redo the whole video and try to cut it down. So all I'm going to do right now is to just cook the chicken thighs a little bit before I add it with all the meat. So I get all of the meat. You want all the meat cooked before you combine them, because once you combine them, you're adding the sauce and you're putting it in the oven and you're done. So that's a little garlic powder there that I'm putting on. So that will be that for the chicken. I am going to cover it up to create a broth. And with that broth, I'm going to cook some of the vegetables in. That's the Cajun seasoning that you see there that I am adding to it. So that's the beginning of that's just because I flipped it over, so I wanted to put the same thing on the other side. Usually I would season it away from the pan, but I thought to season it later. And I'm thinking that I could mince it up, and it wasn't time yet because they weren't cooked. So I couldn't mince it up. So what I'm going to do after that's cooked, I'm going to put it on the cutting board, and then I'm going to transfer it into the mixture with everything else, as you will see shortly. So right now I'm looking for a lid. I'm just going to cover it up to create the broth that I need. So now I put it on the cutting board, the same broth. I'm going to put my vegetables on, which is just two different bell peppers, yellow and orange, a whole onion cut up whole and a half because I had an extra half, and about 5 cloves of garlic. That is all that I put in that pan. Add some olive oil again so that I could get that sauteed. To the left right there, the little pink that you see, that is my ground beef. I dirtied so many pans unnecessarily with this meal. I was like, oh shoot, I got a lot of dishes to wash, but still. I didn't have the phone right so you could see the whole stove. Silly me, but next time I will. I am not a pro at this, so here we go. So no, my cord was not touching the pan at all. My phone was going dead, and I had to charge it. And I put the cord quickly. I didn't have time to perfect anything, and there you have it. That's the Italian sausage that I cut out the casing. You can buy the Italian sausage that's not in the casing. Unfortunately, you can't do that at Costco. And I buy my meats like this at Costco. So when I'm in a hurry or don't have any from Costco, then I go to Ralph's and they have it without the casing. So I'm doing 3 things at once right now. I'm doing the ground beef. I have the Italian sausage that I'm going to finish putting some more in the pan, but I had to stir the ground beef because that side was cooking a little too fast for me. So I continue on with the Italian sausage. As you can see, the vegetables are sauteing because I want those softened before I add it to the pan. And there you go. Time for the sausages to be added, all the meat. But that's the pan that I'm going to put the sauce in, so I start putting everything together. So I put the Italian sausage in the bigger pan because I already put the ground beef in the strainer to get the oil off, because that's the only liquid that I don't save. Everything else I scrape all of my pans because I want all the flavor inside of my dish. So the only drippings I don't save is the ground beef, because who wants that? But there is the chicken thighs that I had to the side, and you see how small I minced those up. So the chicken thighs, it was time to go into the mixture, into the peppers, the onion, the garlic. You guys just don't know how good all of that smell. Now it's time for the ground beef. It's combining everything. Once the meat is cooked, so if you really don't have time on a certain day, but you have time one day, prepare all of your meat. Put it in the refrigerator, put it in a Ziploc bag so you could be ready. Okay, now it's time. I put oregano, I put coriander, I put basil, I sprinkle a little nutmeg. That look at the nutmeg, just a little nutmeg I sprinkle. So coriander, basil, nutmeg, I believe, and that's it. Coriander, basil, nutmeg. You must put coriander in this dish. You just don't know. And a little nutmeg. Don't laugh. You'll be amazed how that tastes. It was a Italian woman in a grocery store once that told me when I was looking for spaghetti sauce, she told me that was the secret to do. So that's the other meat. That's the polka kielbasa kielbasa, something like that. I think that's how it's pronounced. Polska kielbasa. So I cut that up, and that's the last meat that I'm gonna add to the pot. There's no, I do not make lasagna any pasta dish without Italian sausage and my kielbasa sausage. So that is it all together. What's left after this? I almost didn't add the chicken because I was like, should I add the chicken? Because it was going to be for a different type of lasagna. But when I saw that was some type of white sauce foolishness, I was like, I'm not doing that. Let me do what I'm used to because I know what I want to eat today. So that's when I opted to do the marinara sauce and everything else. But I decided, hey, the chicken's already cooked. I'll put him in there and see what it tastes like. And let me tell you, it's bomb. Bomb, bomb, bomb. So there you go. You got to mix everything together, marry all those seasonings, all those flavors. Oh, the aroma was awesome. Some more fresh ground black pepper that I'm putting directly on the spoon to block the steam because the steam could clog up the whole of your pepper and it won't come out right. Then you gotta wait for it to dry, wipe it. I didn't want to do all that. So I put it directly on the spoon for that reason. So everything is sizzling. I'm opening the jar of marinara sauce. That jar was so hard to open. But there you go. No special one. That's just the one that I had in the cabinet that I bought one day trying to be healthy buying that. And to me, it was tasteless. So I'm sorry for those who like that. I didn't like that sauce. So I doctor it up anyway. I never do sauce straight out the jar. I always doctor it up. So it didn't matter. It was just expensive, unnecessarily expensive. And that's a marinara sauce that I got at Trader Joe's because that's where I just stopped quickly. It was near my eyelash girl. So got my lashes done, went over. I needed marinara sauce. You know, Trader Joe's don't have stupid lines, so it was good for me. So there I am throwing everything away. I cook and clean as I go because I hate a lot of dishes after when I'm trying to relax. So that is it for the sauce, y'all. Now, if I was making spaghetti, I would have simmered that for about 2 hours. But in lasagna, it's no need for that because it's going into the oven. So here you are, already prepared the mozzarella cheese. That was fresh mozzarella cheese that I had grated, one whole block of mozzarella cheese. And I had some low-fat one. I don't know why I bought that either one day. And I just added it on in there. That is Parmesan cheese. I'm not going to use the whole thing. I should have the little bit that I left over. But I used the Parmesan cheese and fresh also. Parmigiano reggiano. I add some of that on there. You see that little bit that I left over? I think I was just tired of grating and I just wanted to be done. But I really could have just finished that whole thing off. It was so silly to just leave that. So if you have it, just grate the whole thing. No harm, no foul. So as I'm continuing, I'm going to grate all my cheese together. And all the cheese is going to get combined. That with the ricotta cheese is going to make for everything to be right. Here you are, the dish. I'm going to use my Le Creuset baking pan with the lid. What is that called? It's not a roaster. What is it? Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. The name of this thing, y'all know. But oh, now I want to know. Casserole dish. My casserole dish with the lid. So I'm combining all the cheese, but I'm leaving some of the mozzarella cheese on reserve because that's what's going to go on top. So that's the whole container of ricotta cheese. I believe that's 14, 15 ounces of ricotta cheese. Two of my delicious orange looking eggs that I get from the farmer's market. And usually I would put a little black pepper in this as well, but I didn't this time. I think I just forgot to do it. And hey, it was all right. I put enough black pepper in the meat and all that. So, yeah, it was something in there that I didn't like. I scooped that out of there. But see, you're not mixing, you're just folding. You're just folding it, folding it. That is it. So, I also want to show you. I did not do the boil lasagna. I wanted to try this one that I bought one day. I don't know why, but I wanted to try it out. And this was the time that I tried it out. It's you will see it's from Barilla. I slowed down the video so you could really see it here. It's oven ready lasagna. That is it. You don't have to boil it. You don't have to do it. I love them because they were little. I didn't have to cut like I do the big one that you boil. And then I was so happy because I did not want to do another step at that stove. So this was great. You just put it in there like that, little strips. And what I like about this pasta that I'm going to use all the time now is it was a lot thinner than the one that you do boil. So, you know, with us trying to low carb all the time, it was perfect because it was so thin in between the layers even after it was done. So here you are, your first layer. I don't even grease the pan. I see some people grease it and I'm like, why, when you're gonna put sauce at the bottom? So no, I took the kielbasa sausages out from the bottom. I'm like, I didn't want that there. I almost just took some out of a jar and just pour it there, sauce, but I didn't have any reserved. I used it. So then you put the layers of pasta. Now time for the cheese on top of that. It was so easy to spread. I had no problem. And you see what I use. My scraper. I don't use the spoon. No need for that. And this just makes everything easier for me. So you're just going to be layering it up at the bottom. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, this took I'll say a little over an hour. Because I was doing everything as I went along. And I'm saying an hour total with cooking time as well. Because I didn't have anything prepped. Because the baking time it's actually 30 minutes. I did it 40 because I did 3 layers. And I wanted to make sure it was cooked. So yeah, just continue those layers. And now let me tell you, I did have a little mishap in the oven, but I'm going to show you that later. Because I was making these layers so hefty, because I realized that my pan is little, but we didn't need any bigger. We even had leftovers from this. So I didn't need this ginormous lasagna going. So I could have put it in a bigger pan if I was cooking for a bigger family and use all the sauce, use more layers, and it would have been perfect. But we're small. It's just me and my son at home, and my other son comes by with his kids, and only my grandson wanted some, so we really had leftovers I took to work. My son ate from it 3 days, and it was delicious. He was ready to eat it 3 days, 2 days at home and 1 day to work. So there's the third layer. So had I not put so much sauce in between the layers, I wouldn't have had the problem I had in the oven. But that's what cooking is about. You're going to make some errors. Next time, just don't do that shit. Just don't do that. Next time when you mess up, you'll know. Okay, I effed up, and I'm not doing it again because a lot of mess up is the hell to clean it up, and that's what I was pissed off at because it boiled over, as you'll be able to see what I did. So when it boiled over, word to the wise, what I did was I had a dishcloth right there, one of my big dishcloth. I soaked it with cold water and just wiped up the sauce that's the everything that boiled over at the bottom. And of course, I didn't know it was boiling over until I smelled burning and saw smoke coming from the oven. I was like, oh shit. I knew it automatically what it was because when I was putting it in the oven, I was like, ooh, I think I should put a foil or something. I have an old baking sheet for these reasons. Just in case something might boil over, I put my old baking sheet that got so destroyed by my son cooking bacon in the oven. Destroyed my expensive USA baking sheet. So now I just use that for this. So I cleaned it up with a dishcloth and put the baking sheet at the bottom of the oven after that, just in case anything spilled over. It spilled on that and not my oven. So, it was wild. All right, now it's time for the last layer. I put all the cheese on there. Now it's time to put the rest of the sauce on. Once I get all of that on, look how beautiful that is looking. Love it, love it, love it. I was taking my time, which you don't have to. I mean, hey, you can hurry up, but I wanted it to be right. So I got all the meat on there. Then it will be now time to sprinkle the cheese. Yes, that's the rest of the mozzarella that I just put at the top. And from there, I knew it would be not good in the oven. That's when it was obvious that I will be having a problem. I should have prepared for it, but I mean, hey, sometimes hindsight, but I knew it wasn't even about that. I knew it would be a problem, but I was like, well, maybe because and then the pasta, of course, that pasta is so paper thin, it was going to swell up a little bit. So yeah, the sauce was going to bubble, the cheese melts and all. Yeah, Lisa, I should have known. But there you go. Now it's time to cover that up. I cleaned the edges of the pan because I didn't want that to bake in and look at the whole mess that I created anyway. So it's time for the oven. Now the leftover pasta, I put it in a glass container because I was going to put it in the freezer. But I'm glad I didn't put it in the freezer because I believe this was Tuesday I was cooking this or Wednesday. And on Saturday, my son went to work with the last piece of lasagna. And then when I got home, of course, that lasagna was gone. I thought I was going to have that for dinner. And I was like, well, this sauce is still there. So all I did was boil some spaghetti, some noodles, spaghetti noodles, and add a little salt to it. Add a little bit of teaspoon of sugar to this because spaghetti needs to have a little sweetness. You guys don't understand until you do it. I've had sweet spaghetti, and I'm not talking about sweet sugary spaghetti. I'm talking about 1 teaspoon of sugar that just does something to spaghetti to cut that really the saltiness that you want in a lasagna. So I put the teaspoon of sugar in there, put it in the oven, the microwave, heat this up. It was cold, so I heated up about 3 minutes in this container, boiled the noodles, transferred this to the pan with the noodles, and we had spaghetti and meat sauce for dinner on Saturday. Now here you are. After I smelt it, I was like, what the heck? So after I prepared the oven with the old baking sheet, as you can see at the bottom, I was just checking it, making sure it didn't boil over again. See, I had to take the lid off, which you're going to take the lid off for the last 10 minutes anyway. I baked this one particular, I baked it for 30 minutes with the lid and 10 minutes without. And of course, I baked it on the magical number of 350 degrees. Look at that goodness. I had a foil cut because I decided to use my pan with the lid, so I didn't need the foil that I already cut, my casserole. So I used that foil to put it on the stove because I didn't want to mess up my stove with the drippings from this. But look at this, how delicious that looked to cut. I just wanted to cut it because I couldn't wait. You're supposed to wait about 15-20 minutes for it to cool down because you don't want, if you cut it too soon, all of it, the juice, the sauce, the flavor, and everything will, all the meat sauce will just run into that area that you cut that slice from. So you don't want to cut it too soon at all. Look at that goodness. Oh, mm, mm. My 4 meat, 4 cheese lasagna. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you do. Please add in the comments if you did.